Good evening and welcome back to the Proving Grounds. Tonight I'm going to go over how to clean a bolt action rifle. Just a quick clean. We're not going to break it down to the triggers and the pins and things like that, but we're just going to go over a quick maintenance of a bolt action rifle because this is the kind of rifle that most people start off with hunting. So yeah, let's get to it. First and foremost, we need to go over some firearm safety rules. A lot of people buy a bolt rifle as their first rifle. It's important to understand that rifles are tools, and just like any other tool, if you use it incorrectly, they can be dangerous. So we had to follow some rules. And you know, when I put the rifle down, I can see where the muzzle is pointing. There's nothing there that I wouldn't mind destroying. Okay, so that's the first thing you have to do. The next thing you have to do is you have to clear the rifle. And by clear the rifle, I mean you don't ever assume that the rifle is not loaded. To clear this rifle, and most bolt rifles, you have to take the rifle off safe to do it. You push the rifle off safe, which was here on the tang, you raise the bolt handle up, pull the bolt to the rear. Now, when you pull the bolt to the rear, this particular rifle does not have a detachable magazine. You can just see down into it. So when you do that, what you want to do is you want to visually inspect the chamber to make sure there's no round that was not ejected. You want to look down into the magazine to make sure there's no round that came up into the chamber when you pulled the bolt to the rear. And then you want to physically stick your finger in there, both visually and physically check the chamber and the magazine before you start doing this. Once the rifle is clear, you need to inspect your workspace. So when you inspect your workplace, you need to make sure there's nothing dangerous in your workplace. And one thing that's very dangerous to have in your workplace when you're cleaning a rifle is this: ammunition. Make sure there's never ammunition present when you're cleaning your rifle. Make sure it's not there. Make sure it's not present. Make sure that it's just not on the same table as you're at. All right, I'm back. So now there's no ammunition anywhere on the table. There's nothing in the chamber. There's nothing in the magazine. There's no way this rifle is going to go off and hurt anybody. With that in mind, we're still not going to point it at anything that I don't want to destroy, okay? So the first step to cleaning a rifle is you have to remove the bolt in a bolt rifle. So in this rifle here, you had to press down on this lever, pull back on the trigger, remove the bolt from the rear. This is the bolt handle, this is the bolt, this is the firing pin, and this is the ejector here. So you don't need to know each and every part specifically, but what you do need to know is once that's removed, you need to set it to the side. So now all you have is a barrel attached to a stock with the bolt removed from the rear. So next thing we need to get to is the bore brush. This is a 264, which is equivalent to a 6.5 Creedmoor, which is what this is. You want to make sure you have the right size brush and the right size rods for the barrel, okay? So the first thing you want to do is you want to go into the end of the barrel and you want to push that brush all the way in to the chamber, just like that. And you want to pull it all the way back through the other way, just like that. You want to do that a few times to make sure you really scrape up that soot in the barrel. You want to get that stuff scraped up. The next thing we want to cover is what is a solvent. This is a solvent. This is hops number 9. It's been around for a very long time. And being that old habits die hard, it's my favorite. So I'm going to go ahead and take a little bit of this solvent. Now don't get the solvent confused with oil. Solvent is not oil. It's not lube, you know? That's not what it's made for. What solvent does is exactly what it sounds like. It helps dissolve gunpowder and gunpowder residue. So what you're going to do is you're going to take this rod and you're going to put that little eyelet on the end. The little eyelet, and you're going to put a swab, just a patch, run through that eyelet. And the patches I had pre-cut, they look just like this. I just fold them in half, shove them through the eyelet, open them back up, and this is what you have here. So what I do then, there's a lot of people don't even do this, but I dip them in solvent. I get them good and wet and pat them on the towel I got under my rifle. Then I'll insert it at the end of the barrel, push it slowly through the barrel, letting these spin with the rifling of the barrel. Once it gets out, you see that came out, opened up because I had it folded over, and you pull it back through very slowly. Once that's done, you leave the barrel. Just leave it alone. The next step I do is I'll take the bolt and I'll take some Q-tips. Now, a lot of people disagree with this too, but I use Q-tips. I stick it into the solvent, and then I'll go over the entire bolt, the bolt face, and where it locks into the chamber with solvent. I go over the whole thing with solvent, get it really good and wet. You get good and wet, boys. Just keep going. Just really work it, get good and wet. The whole thing. Once it's all wet, you want to set it down. Now what that's going to do is that solvent's going to work in there. It's going to be working on it. Then I'm going to take this. I'm going to dip this in the solvent. I'm going to take the rifle. I'm going to turn it to where I can see into the bolt. And I'm going to do the whole same thing to the inside of this chamber. And all the way up in here with solvent. Now this is going to take some time. And you can use whatever tool you have at your disposal to get right down in there under them rails. The rails where the bolt slides, you have to get those really well. Now I'm not going to lie to you. This takes some time, and I'm not going to do this on camera, and it's not going to take me an hour to do this, but I'm going to get into all the little rails, all the little spots with this solvent, and I'm going to make it very, very good and wet. Now they make some new solvents now that are a spray. It takes away all this unnecessary maneuvering of the weapon and things like that. You spray it in there with like a spray can and a hose, like a little straw. But like I said, I'm old school and old habits die hard. So once you get the inside of that chamber wet down with solvent, what I'll usually do is I'll unthread some of these here, some of these rods. I'll thread that hook on the eyelet on the end of it, put the corner of another patch through, and I'll put this in here, get it good and wet, real good and wet, just sloppy. And then I'll put it in the back where the bolt went in, and I turn it around in that chamber. I just spin it with my finger. What that does, it gets where the shoulder and the neck of the round seats into the chamber. And when it spins around in there, make sure the whole inside of that chamber is good and covered in solvent. And you go back and forth in there like that. So your little details already got little rails, things like that, but now you're just soaking the inside of the chamber where the neck seats into the barrel, into the chamber. So now that that's all done, I usually let it sit for about 10 or 15 minutes with the solvent eating away at it. I'll be right back at you after it sits. All right, so we're back. Now that we're back, I'm going to go ahead, and my next step is, again, not like a lot of people's next step. A lot of people would disagree with this, but this is what's worked for me in the past. It's worked for me over the years. I go ahead, now that the solvent is soaked on the inside of the barrel for a little while, I'll pass this brush back through the barrel. And what that'll do is it'll just scrub whatever that solvent loosened up, and just scrub it a little bit more, just a little bit more. Then I'll put my eyelet back on, or if you're lucky enough, you have the right stuff, you use a plug, which I just use the end of my rod a lot. Like I'll just fold the patch over like this, take the end of the rod, put it over so it's good and tight. That's a little too tight. Do it like that. Put it into the bore. See, that patch is real tight around the end of that rod. So what that's going to do is it's going to force it all the way down, yep, right there into the chamber. pull it back out. Take that, remove it. Now you see all that black? That was removed from the barrel. We're going to do it again with another clean patch. Go. Pull that out of there. There we go. And it's going to get cleaner. So you keep doing that until the inside of the barrel is completely clean. All right, the next step is you want to take a plastic brush. You don't want to use the metal ones really, especially on modern rifles, unless you really have to. You don't want to use copper or stainless brushes, and you want to just start scrubbing all the small spots until they're clean. Anything that has some carbon on it, anything that has some soot on it, you want to scrub it all. Even on the inside of these rails in here, you want to scrub them off. Just go through, scrub them off. And I actually have a chamber brush that goes inside this, and it's like, it looks like the copper brush that I just had for the bore, but on the back of it here, on the back of it, there's a larger brush, and you put it in from the back, and you spin it in the chamber, and that'll bust it loose. You can buy those for each rifle you want to use. Buy them for AR-15 just about anywhere. They come with the cleaning kits. But yeah, for now, we're just going to go ahead and push these in, scrub these in here, scrub all through here, scrub all through here. There's a lot of different tools you can use for it. But once it's been scrubbed, you can take Q-tips, and this is what I love about them. You can get in these small areas in here where the action comes off, where the safety moves back and forth. You can really get in some small spots with a Q-tip. And I really like to do that along where the barrel is mounted to the stock and things like that. So you can get a lot of that stuff out of there even after you scrubbed it. Where the rail is, where the bolt goes in, things like that. You can get all that stuff out of there. You can wipe the top of the bolt chamber. You can get up on top of the built-in magazine on the sides. Get all up in there. See? And just swap them out. Just keep swapping them out until they're good. Until it's completely clean. And I like to get up into the chamber on the sides with them too. Because you'll see where that bullet next into the chamber is going to have some soot. All right, so you're going to do that. You're going to make sure that's completely clean. And the bolt has been sitting here the entire time soaked in solvent, right? So what you're going to do is you're going to take that bolt that's been soaked in solvent and you're going to scrub the entire bolt with this plastic brush. Now you're going to get every part of it all the way to the bolt face. That's where the back of the round seats there so the fire pin can hit it. And this extractor can pull it out when you pull it to the rear. So you want to scrub the face of it really well. You want to get around, this is where the bolt goes into the chamber, turns, and the front of it locks so that when you fire it doesn't fly backwards out. You want to get all these actions really good and clean. I like how they printed Savage on it. It looks really neat. I really like the Savage, the 110, the short action 6.5 Creedmoor, and a lot of people talk about, you know, the ability of a 6.5 Creedmoor, but I really think that, you know, I fire 135 grain rounds and they're moving, you know, close to 3,000 feet per second. So, you know, with good shot placement, I think that's plenty enough to deal with a white-tailed deer. And, you know, with me, a lot of what I do is just poking holes in paper and targets anyway. You know, it's kind of just like, poop, poking a hole, right? So that's my thing. I just poke holes in paper. So, you know, 6.5 Creedmoor is a good flat shooting rifle, real fast. You know, doesn't have a whole lot of recoil, things like that. It's fun. I like it. Okay, so now that the bolt's been scrubbed, you want to take it with a cloth and you just want to really just wipe it down. Wipe off all the extra burnt gunpowder and things like that. Now, the cheaper the round you use, well, I shouldn't even say cheap. It's a cost thing. It's just a quality thing. If you buy quality rounds like Hornady and Berger and things like that, you're not going to have as much of the leftover soot and the leftover burnt gunpowder. you're not gonna have as much of it. It's not gonna be as dirty of a round, right? So, I mean, if you spend a little extra money, it's gonna help you out with the cleaning the inside of the rifle. And you'll notice this especially with rim fires like a 22 or a 17 HMR or the 17 WSSM or whatever they call the short one, 22 Magnum. You're gonna notice that if you buy the more expensive rounds, those don't get as dirty as fast. So now what you wanna take is you wanna take that cloth and you wanna wipe all the solvent off the gun, off the rifle, I'm sorry. This is my rifle, this is my gun, right? So all the inside of it, things like that, you wanna make sure the whole chamber, everything's dry. You wanna wipe down the rifle with it, make sure everything's good. Now, the solvent is like, kind of like I would like you to think of it as a soap, right? That's what's gonna do the work. It's gonna get the bulk of the nasty off of it, right? But the solvent's not what preserves a rifle. What preserves a rifle is a lubricant. And I'm sure you're all very familiar with how lubricant can preserve your gun, you know? So let's take a look and see how to do this. So what I do is I thread back on my eyelet onto the end of my cleaning rods. Now, I'm gonna get a lot of heat for this too, but I believe in it. Everybody's got this high-speed stuff, REM oil, but stuff like that. I use 3-in-1 oil. Now, it's old school, but that's what I was brought up with. It's always worked well. I've always been able to maintain a rifle pretty well with it. So, you know what? If it's not broke, don't fix it. This stuff here, just really wet it. You know, wipe it off on the towel that's on the table. Now you want to shove that in the end of the barrel. And what that's doing is just putting a coat of oil, and you want to go back and forth with it. Ooh, yeah. Right in that cylinder there. Right there where the chamber is. Get that good and lubed up and protected. So that what that did is it took where it's been dried from having the solvent in it when it really wasn't. I mean, it's just a demonstration. This would usually take an hour or better to really get it right. This is just a quick cleaning, like you brought it in from hunting or brought it in from shooting. You want to put it up. It's, you know, you're not going to a bench press competition tomorrow. So all you guys are going to say, oh, what about this? What about that? Listen, I don't shoot competition. I just shoot for fun. I'm not good enough to shoot competition. You want to know the truth. So yeah, that lubricates the inside of the barrel where it was clean from all the debris and scuffed up by that brush. Well, now you just put oil on it, and when you put oil on metal, it doesn't just lubricate it, it preserves it. There's not much reason to lubricate the inside of a barrel because after the first shot or two, that lubrication goes away. You will notice, however, after you fire your first and second round, even after your first, your second round is gonna land in a different spot on a dirty barrel. The third and fourth even more so. If you want to be on top of each other with some match rounds, like this heavy barrel, heavy bolt, if you want to do that kind of shooting, I would fire a few rounds for it before you decided to make adjustments to the sights, okay? So now that we've done that, we're gonna go ahead and take your rag, just old cloth that's no good, and I'm gonna put oil all over that cloth, and I'm gonna go ahead and I'm just gonna wipe the bolt down with it. And what that's gonna get all the little spots, everything else, especially where your hands go, because you don't want all the little nasty stuff from your hands getting on there and rusting your rifle. So now wipe that whole thing down and you're clean. And not only are you clean, but you're lubricated and protected. All right, so now I'm gonna put a little more oil on there, squeeze it together, make sure it's covered, and I'm gonna go on the outside of the barrel. So now I got the inside of the barrel. Anywhere there's metal exposed to moisture, the oils and stuff from your hands, things like that, things that could cause rust, you want to wipe out the outside of that. Go all over the outside of the chamber, front and back, inside of the chamber, everywhere in there. You want to make sure you get all inside here. Once that's all cleaned up and wiped off, and I mean like this, you want to get all down into the box mag and everything, up into the chamber, all that. And again, this will take a little longer. This is just a demonstration. And I also while the bolt's out and everything's all apart, I like to take and get on the inside of the trigger well, because a lot of people forget that, but that's where your finger rests a lot of times, on the inside and outside of that trigger well. See where my finger's touching it? Before I do it, put it away, I'm going to wipe this down. Now that it's got a good thick coat on it, I'm going to fold the towel a couple times, find the opposite side where it's a little bit dry, and I'm going to wipe it dry, especially on the stock, things like that. But now I'm going to wipe it dry. Now the outside, the metal's not just clean, but it's lubricated. It's not just lubricated, but it's protected. And the inside of your chamber where that bolt slides back and forth, all the mechanisms are lubricated. So now you're going to take your bolt, you're going to slide it into the back of the rifle. But in this particular rifle, you have to have the trigger pulled and this lever pushed down, and you have to have it off safe. So, all right, so now what you're going to do is you're going to slide your bolt in the back after you've wiped it down with oil and dried it. Now there is a piece on the back. There's a two-part lock here. So if your lock is backwards, it will not go in. This ledge on this rifle has to be down. So make sure your bolt is as it came out, because you've been wiping on it. And now if it's as it came out, it'll go right in. Now push it forward, cycle it back and forth. Now there's a hole right here on the side of the chamber. Stick a little bit of oil in there. There's a rail on either side of the bolt slide. Just put just a little bit of oil in there. You don't want to put a ton. You don't want to flood it. And what I'll do is I'll cycle this bolt back and forth, and it's very smooth now, very easy. And you just boom, 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 yeah. All right, now you lock it down, up, back. Yeah, you're in good shape. So now, bolt forward, locked, weapon on safe, won't fire, won't open, off safe, up, boom. Now you never leave a weapon. I don't leave the bolt shut. A lot of people say you should because it keeps it from getting condensation in it and keeps it from getting debris in it. But if you're gonna leave I don't usually leave it shut because I keep it somewhere where it's temperature controlled, climate controlled. But if you don't have a place like that, shut the bolt, put it on safety, and you're good to go. Now, anytime you're gonna test the trigger, anytime you're gonna do anything like that, even if you took all the rounds away from it, anytime that muzzle's pointing somewhere, you wanna make sure it's not pointing at anything you don't intend to destroy. So you don't put your finger on the trigger and pull it unless you're pointed somewhere where you don't mind that rifle firing. So safety is a big important thing, and it's a big topic in America, gun control, things like that. Now, I'm not a huge gun guy, and this isn't a gun channel, but I do think it's necessary to bring up this is a tool, and every tool can be dangerous within the spirit that it's used, okay? So let's look at each other like we're humans. Let's start there. And that could be every day in every scenario. Thank you for coming here. Thank you for watching this video. And if you take anything away from it, I want you to take away to be kind to each other, okay? And responsible. I want you to act as if everybody else around you matters too. We're a small channel. We're trying to make something happen. Please subscribe. Please like, comment. That'll help us out. If you feel like it's worth a subscribe. If you do, please subscribe. Share with your friends. And I hope this helps somebody somewhere. If you have any questions, leave a comment. If you have a video you want to see, let me know. I do those requests sometimes for people who want to see something particular. If I can get my hands on it or I have it, I'll do it for you. If I know anything about it at all. And to give you some background of myself, I was in the military and I was a police officer. And also, I'm a veteran, and I am very familiar with firearms. So a lot of what I just told you, there's going to be some disagreement. There's a million ways to clean a rifle, but this is very quick. And of course, it wasn't comprehensive on my part, but you know, this is just a rough thing about to show you how to do it. To get into it, get it done, get it over with, get it home, preserve it. And it's just like any other tool. If you don't take care of it, it's not going to last. So take care of your things and take care of each other. Till next time, thanks for coming back to the Proving Grounds. Have a good day.